The Monster Energy Supercross finale looms. Webb, Sexton, and a wild 250 East. SMX Insider. The preview is next. Yeah, special Monster Energy AMA Supercross finale edition of SMX Insider. We are the Jasons, Weigandt, and Thomas. 2 titles still on the line, heading to Salt Lake City this weekend, JT. But a little preview of how chaotic it can get with a championship up for grabs with Haiden Deegan and Cole Davies, and how the West title wrapped in Denver.
Yeah, we got one of those championships out of the way, and I don't think many people expected it to not only be clinched in Denver, but also go the way it did with all of that late race drama between 2 teammates. But we've kind of seen this situation building, so it wasn't a total surprise that they were going to have a run-in.
Yeah, and everyone in the world has a take on it, so we might as well give you ours, even though this race is already done and dusted. Look, anything Deegan does, it comes with a filter. I've been saying this. People are, I don't think they're really talking about the pass. They're talking about the past. Whatever you already thought about Deegan is guiding whether you think the move is fair or foul. I believe if you take all that out, it's not the gnarliest block pass I've ever seen. They're battling for the win. I don't think Deegan did it for the title, by the way. I don't think he thought this would allow him to win the title. But the race, I don't really have a problem with the pass in and of itself.
I don't either. And I think there's 2 dynamics. One, the pass, and I'm in full agreement. Was it aggressive? Sure, but not over the line. And I think that Cole Davies will look back and he even mentioned, I can't put myself in that position, but he'll look back in the future and say, I really didn't have any leverage in that corner. I kind of have to give him the line and room there because he is determining my fate on the outside of that corner. And then the second dynamic of this is how Haiden Deegan handled the podium interviews and his response to those things. And on one of those sides of the coin, I'm totally okay with what Haiden Deegan did on the racetrack. Maybe not so much with his comments afterwards. And to me, those are 2 very, very different scenarios about how people view the entire night in Denver.
Yep. And Deegan did eventually apologize on Tuesday on his social media for the comments there on the podium. But that's the whole thing. Everything Deegan does on the track, the opinion of it is somewhat affected by what he does off the track. And that, by the way, that's what he signed up for. That's what he puts out there. So I'm not sympathetic to that. He earned that for better or for worse. But he says he loves the haters. So I guess it doesn't bother him that much. And the reason we're still talking about this is now we have an idea of what could happen. 3 riders pretty much in a winner-take-all in 250 East in a showdown. And Chase Sexton, hey, he did run it in on Cooper Webb a little bit in Denver. Maybe more? What's coming in Salt Lake City, you think?
I don't think we have any idea. And that's the best part. And what makes this sport so great is all of the, randomness that can go on, that you look at the dynamic between those 3 in the 250 East. Don't forget, they could be affected by the results of those riders coming in from the 250 West in this showdown. It's going to affect the math. It could certainly affect the racing. What if Haiden Deegan got aggressive with one of those guys from the East, right? There's a lot that can go on. So drama's going to be high. It's going to be a fantastic end to the 250 series. Don't forget, maybe Cole Davies wants a little payback on Haiden Deegan, which is outside of the championship parameters for the 250 East. So that's going to be its own whole animal, something to watch. And then in the 450 championship, it feels like it's leaned a lot towards Cooper Webb now, but there's still going to be a lot that goes on. We're going to have to watch how does Cooper Webb manage this situation, and does Chase Sexton do anything other than just try to run off and win his 7th main event of the season.
And we will get deeper into Sexton versus Webb headed to Salt Lake City in this episode. But let's bring in another expert with championship opinions and experience as well, Sebastian Tortelli from the French version of the Supercross broadcast. Big interview time right here from Denver, and we have the Sebastian Tortelli, former Supercross race winner and world champion motocross racer, and most importantly these days, part of the French broadcast. So what has that been like this year calling the races?
Oh, it's been amazing. I mean, we get the first time ever to get the show going on, and then it's been growing, and we've been learning, and then the racing has been amazing. I was blown away by it, and we try to share that experience with everybody, and it's been super good.
Well, Sebastian, we've been friends for a very long time, so first, it's good to see you. I want to learn a little bit more about how this French broadcast goes on, because the time zone change is wild for me. So can you tell us a little bit what your experience is like? How does this all happen? Because it's magic when we watch it, but what goes on behind the scenes for you?
Well, Saturday night doesn't exist anymore for me at some point. But, the crew has been amazing. I mean, they've been able to connect us. Actually, I'm home, sitting in my office to do it. And then Maxime also is home. And then Davies or Marvin are basically in California. So it makes it a little bit, challenging. But this year with the cloud and getting everything organized, that's the way we do it. So we get some, direct, basically on the computer. We get all the information, all what you see, we see it too. And then we're able to comment and see the backdrop. And so it's been amazing. We've been following all the day, activities where we get information and we talk with you guys. And that simplifies actually a lot our life, because you are there on the track and you give us information, and it's amazing. Like for me, I was like, okay, how are we going to do it? The time zone, I'm like, I'm going to fall asleep, not fall asleep, but the excitement is so high. So it's been, I love it. And we've been, grateful for the experience, for all the people who speak French, actually, to be able to see it. We have, I guess, a good crowd following all over, Canada and some French, of course, but other countries in the world. And we've been growing, and then people liking it.
Well, you're going to join Ricky Carmichael in the booth here in Denver on Saturday night for a little bit. Now, you and Ricky were pretty competitive. And earlier we met today, and you guys were really soft and talking about how great you were with each other. No. I was there. There was really competitive. And I'm not saying hard feelings, but you guys were both chasing championships against each other, and some of those years inside the same truck. So, 20 years removed from that, 20 plus years removed from that, what is that relationship like, and what do you think that experience is going to be like being in the booth with him tomorrow night?
Well, at least we are not competing, so that's the good part of it. But, RC was a source of motivation for me. He's always been, he's, the GOAT, so he was, very strong. And, I got some great battle with Stefan Everts over in Europe, and then, I came to the US, and actually I find somebody that is exactly like me. You've seen it. We train together a lot of hours, and when you need to give 110% or 120%, he doesn't think twice. It's natural. So this now being in the booth is basically he's been having more experience than I did, and than I do actually, and I've been learning from him, and today it's a good thing. We were sitting in the booth watching practice and kind of sharing some of the stuff. So it's a big family.
It's awesome to have you as part of the team, and I'm glad you're enjoying it too.
I'm happy. It was the chance to come see you guys, and this weekend I'm not on the broadcast, so I'm like, hey, I can come to Denver, and it's a perfect occasion.
Perfect. Good to have Sebastian Tortelli, one of the greats here, and of course help take the whole SMX experience to another level internationally. Okay, much to get into in this episode of the show. We're going to give you tiebreaker math in 250 East, because as we learned in the West, that might play a factor. We'll have Clinton Fowler with that data. Of course, we'll get deeper into Sexton versus Webb and what could be on the line this weekend, and the respect, disrespect, a little bit of both on both ends with those riders. Don't forget, Pro Motocross is on its way, and some off-the-track stuff we didn't expect, like Jet Lawrence in a handcrafted suit. Let's get to it. 30-second board. These are big topics this week. We've already hit on the Davies and Degan hit, but there is one other piece of that. While Degan was celebrating, getting booed, cheered, all of that, I couldn't tell from my vantage point down on the track, JT, but Davies was just sitting on the side of a berm. I didn't realize he was really emotional. The bike kind of blocked my view. But while he was doing that, a lot of veteran stars came over to support him, JT.
Yeah, I think the 30 board topic there is the perfect word, because for those riders on the 450 class, right before they go out for their own main event to go over and try to console Cole Davies, I think was very telling. It's telling of the level of respect they have for him as a racer. But I think many of them, you think about Aaron Plessinger. Let's go back to Detroit a couple of years ago and how he felt giving away that win and crashing out. I think they have been in that moment. They understand what that grief feels like, and they have lived to see the other side. And I think they wanted to tell him, like, hey, I know this hurts right now, but don't let this moment where you're so bummed about how this went outshine how well things are going for you and the improvements you've made. And think about where you're at. You just led this entire main event, and you are the focal point of the 250 West Championship with Haiden Deegan. And if they can just help him in that moment to think big picture and get past this so we can get to the other side, I think they're doing a great service to him. And I think it just spoke volumes about how they feel about Cole Davies too.
Yeah, and the character of those riders also to do that when they're locked in on their own race that's upcoming. We're going to preview the showdown now. One of the wildest showdowns you'll ever see because it's nearly winner take all in 250 East between Tom Vialle, RJ Hampshire, and Seth Hammaker. And as you mentioned earlier on the show, Degan has nothing to lose. Davies has nothing to lose. Degan even made the joke maybe he'll take some bribery from the 250 East to help certain riders. He said he was joking. I actually look at Hammaker's position, and it's much like Davies, right? We talked about this last week. Yes, he is not championship experience like the other two, but this whole season has been a bonus. I feel like Hammaker can get it done, even though the data would probably say, no way, man, he's never been in this position, but I think he's game for it.
Yeah, I can't argue any of the scenarios, and I could probably make a great case for all three of these riders winning and have evidence as to why. You know, for Hammaker, I love what you said about he just seems a little bit carefree, and he should not be. He should be nervous by, I think, all counts. Everybody would be nervous in this scenario, but he doesn't feel that way. You know, and Tom Vialle, he was your 250 East champ last year. I think he got life breathed into his championship again through his performance at Pittsburgh. So this is all upside for Tom Vialle based off of where he was a few short weeks ago. In RJ Hampshire, listen, I would never want to be in the way of RJ Hampshire in a championship. When you tell me that all he has to do is go win the race and he wins the championship, that is a very scary proposition for anyone trying to step in front of that freight train. So it's an amazing setup. We have the 250 West guys trying to sort out their own business, and they of course want to win the race too. I think it's 6 and 1, half a dozen the other. You tell me who wins, and I could probably tell you why they did.
Yeah, that's what makes it so fun. When that gate drops, it is going to be unbelievable at Salt Lake. And then the next gate drop after that, we'll have the 450 title, which is still up for grabs. We got to give the visor nod to Chase Sexton here. That was another domination run in Denver. They couldn't touch him.
Yeah, and this has been what we've seen more times than not. When Sexton doesn't make the pivotal mistake, when everything's clicking, I would have to agree with his sentiment that he's the best rider in many of those moments. And this was more proof of that. You know, his East Rutherford performance this weekend was, you know, that maybe it wasn't 16 seconds, it was more like 10, but there's no one that was watching or was in attendance that wouldn't say, yeah, the number 4 on the KTM was the best rider tonight, you know, and that's what's going to be, I think, the most difficult thing for him to swallow if he's unable to win this championship, is that he was arguably the best rider in the series, and yet he's going to come up short through his own mistakes. And he's the one that's going to have to live with it. We have talked about it time and time again, how many opportunities he's had to take charge of this championship, and through small mistakes that lead to big point swings, it's unlikely that he's going to be champ, Weech.
Nothing ever will stand out like Arlington, where he had the overall and he blew that one. And those points alone would make it maybe a winner take all this weekend, but it's not. Now we have a little debate here between the way Webb and Sexton have been treating each other. Now they're going out of their way in the press conference to be ultra respectful to each other. Sexton even brought up that he looked up to Webb when they were amateurs and the Yamaha profile as they moved through the ranks. He was on an 85 when Webb was in the B class on a 250. That's all well and good, but there has been this gesture stuff after the race. We had the finger guns, then we had the put the baby to sleep. Now Sexton used something he called the grenade. Are they respectful or are they not respectful? Where are they here?
I think they are. They respect each other a lot. I do. But I think for Cooper Webb, he might be trying to get Chase Sexton off his game a bit. And I'll go back to the previous topic where Chase Sexton's likely the best rider on the racetrack. And for Cooper Webb, if he can do anything to get him out of his rhythm, off his game, that's a net positive, because he doesn't want Sexton to be in the groove, to be in a rhythm, because many times not much Webb can do about that if he allows him to get to that spot. So picture perfect example, Pittsburgh, if he can get him to not blitz the whoops and jump like Cooper Webb's doing, then the results seem to be altered from that. So, there's two sides to it. That's where the debate comes in. I don't always know if it's the best way to go about things. I think you instigate some hard feelings. We saw Chase Sexton really get aggressive on a couple laps in, second lap there in Denver. I think you maybe create some hard feelings, and when the door is open, maybe he tries to walk through that door aggressively because of the hard feelings. So there's two sides to the coin. It's really interesting. I don't think we're going to see Cooper Webb change his ways, but it's really fun to talk through both sides of how the result can be of that.
Well, all this potential drama will play out on the floor of Rice-Eccles Stadium in Salt Lake. We're going to look at the track map here, JT. Maybe one of these corners on this track could live in infamy like that one in Vegas years ago with Savacci and Osborne. What do you think when you look at this track map?
Well, the first thing that jumps out to me, there's some really big rhythm sections on this racetrack. And when I think about the elevation we'll be at, which takes away a lot of the power, especially for the 250s, they're going to have to stretch to put these things together. And could that play a role in these championships? Tom Vialle has shown a little bit of hesitation to put the biggest rhythm sections together on this track. So that's going to be a test for these riders. And then you look at the whoops coming right out of a bowl berm. Who can get the speed built up and really blitz through those things? Or you guys like Cooper Webb and Justin Cooper, are they able to stay a little bit low in the corner, find a rhythm through those whoops, and offset any momentum that riders would be able to carry by slingshotting out of that bowl berm? But again, I'll go back to the rhythm sections, and how they are able to execute those lap after lap. That's going to be the key to Salt Lake.
Yep, elevation, not quite as much as Denver, but certainly enough to slow the bikes down. Let's bring in some more analysis with the experts on where to put the smart money for the Supercross finale.
All right, James, let's talk NXT Bat Spud. We're going into Salt Lake City, final round. We got some interesting matchups here. Let's talk head-to-head. Aaron Plessinger versus Justin Cooper. The odds makers are putting Aaron Plessinger at a -135. They think they've got him taking it over Justin Cooper in a head-to-head matchup. Like, James, this year, Justin Cooper has beat him 10 out of the 16 rounds. So I don't know. And he's been on the podium for 2 weeks in a row. What do you think?
Well, history would say you would lean towards Aaron Plessinger, the guy who's obviously won a race before and been riding good this last half of the season. But man, have you seen Justin Cooper ride his last few races? I don't believe he might only just not get a podium, but he might end up winning in the whole thing. Justin Cooper's been riding really good. We see that. I think last weekend was in a tricky spot with him catching his teammate, almost like wanted to get around him. But I'm going to lean towards Justin Cooper for this one, just because of what I've seen the last 2 weekends. I think Salt Lake City, it's going to be hard to beat that, the real favorite in Chase Sexton, but I think Justin Cooper definitely would be on the podium and a threat for a win. So him over Aaron Plessinger.
Okay, let's talk the podium. You kind of hinted towards it, but let's talk about the podium. The odds makers have Chase Sexton at a -1200. They're basically saying he's a lock for the podium. Cooper Webb, interesting. They got him at a -275. Kind of a lock for the podium, but man, he only needs to finish 5th to wrap this title up. So feels like that might be aggressive. You've had some experience there. And then there's 3 other guys that they've got pretty good odds on. Plessinger at a 141, Cooper at a 180, and Malcolm Stewart at a 272. What do you think for the podium this weekend, James?
Well, I know that the spot that Cooper Webb's in is going to be a tough one, because as a racer, how do you go to a race and not race for a win, especially a guy like Cooper Webb? When you try to protect anything in his situation, the only thing that can happen would be negative. He can lose this title if he does something crazy. So for him, it's going to be hard for him to decipher whether to just go out there and win, because I believe he's got to have that mindset to get on the podium. These other guys are too good. They're at a different level right now. They're riding. So Cooper's going to be in a tough spot. So for me, I feel like he's either going to be battling for a win, or he's probably going to be around that 4th and 5th, trying to be in that championship mode, which is going to be difficult. Now, when you look at Aaron Plessinger, he's the one guy that doesn't really have a lot to race for. Obviously, podium, bonus money, all that's nice. But when you think of Malcolm Stewart and Justin Cooper, that podium spot for the overall championship's huge. That's a lot of big dollars right there. So these 2 guys are going to have a lot to race for. So when I'm looking at it, I think the battle is going to be between Justin Cooper and Malcolm Stewart. And, I don't know. I feel like those two will end up on the podium along with Chase Sexton, followed by Aaron Plessinger and Cooper Webb. That's just my honest opinion. So we'll see.
Man, it's James, it's going to be fun. As you said, a lot of potential money on the line for that podium bonus. So we shall see in Salt Lake City. Folks, be sure to go to your local sportsbook and check out the lines. They change throughout the week as you guys are making your bets. And James, see you in Salt Lake, bud.
All right, good job, Clinton and Stu. We'll have Stu, by the way, part of the broadcast at the race for the Supercross finale, so that'll be fun. Also fun, this is becoming an annual tradition. Our friends at Rocky Mountain ATVMC put together a golf tournament to raise some funds for St. Jude. JT, you've gotten to attend that before. What's it like?
It's a really cool event. You know, the fun part, I think, outweighs how great of an event it is for St. Jude Children's Hospital, and everybody that goes there has a great time. They all understand that the auction that's going on right now and also held at this particular event benefits that race to find a cure for children's cancer. So if you ever have an opportunity to be a part of this, join one of the teams there, I would highly recommend it. The weather in the spring in that area of the world is really nice. And yeah, you won't find anybody that's attending that doesn't appreciate their time there.
Okay, and if you can't attend the golf tournament, there's other ways to help raise funds for St. Jude, and this is awesome. The annual auction with race-worn gear, race-worn graphics and plastic off the motorcycle, Stasics, and a lot of other cool items. Go to supercrosslive.com/St. Jude to see the auction items. And JT, we were joking about this before we actually recorded the show. To, for example, get the jersey Ken Roczen wore in the race at Indy, amongst many others. Maybe I'm naive. I don't feel like that's happening in a lot of other sports. People wear their favorite NFL player's jersey, but that's a replica. These are actual things that the athletes actually wore. To us, it's normal. But the fans, this is unbelievable that you can buy this stuff.
No, I think you make a great point. And maybe I'm just numb to it because I raced for so long and I was around it so much. But to your point, the authenticity of these items, I don't think can be matched in any other place or any other sport. But for me, I like the stuff that's a little bit out of that spectrum. Like you think about, there are guitars that have been signed by all the legends of the sport, and these rare items that you're simply never going to see. You know, I've been looking at autographed jerseys for decades, you know, so that is not the draw for me. But the great point of this is this auction has a little bit of something for everyone, and random, unique items that you would never even think are available, you can find on that website that you gave, Leach.
Yep, that's supercrosslive.com/St. Jude auction running here. Everything they collected at the Love Moto Stop Cancer race at Indy. Some really cool stuff that would surprise your friends when you have it hanging in their garage. Like, where did you get that? Well, that's how you get it. Also, this would surprise some people. So Jet Lawrence shows up at the Met Gala.
Nervous as like crazy. Just very out of my domain. Very out of it.
So more nervous than like an A1 start?
Well, yeah, I kind of know, like, I'm in my territory with dirt bikes and A1. This is not my territory at all, not even close.
The maybe highest end fashion event of the year in America. I explained this to my teenage daughter last night. I'm like, if America had a ball, like you hear royalty, they'll go to the royal ball. This is probably the closest that the United States gets to it. And it is a who's who of every major celebrity and musician and actor and actress and athlete. And there's Jet Lawrence walking among them. That was amazing to see.
Yeah, this is really cool. And I think, you know, on multiple fronts, for Jet, it had to be a fantastic experience to be recognized amongst that group. And I think on a larger picture, the sport being involved with all of the mainstream sports we think about, all of these icons from every walk of life. Well, you know, our SMX World Champion, Jet Lawrence, amongst them. And I mean, look at it. He looked the part. Like, this kid is like Adonis walking around. And I just think it's a sign of the times when you look at where our sport is, how much it's grown, how much it's being recognized. And for him to be there, I think was just proof of that.
Now, back to the serious business of racing. This we didn't even have on the radar. There is suddenly a battle for third in the 450 class of Supercross because Ken Roczen is going to miss the last two races with the ankle injury, and that puts Justin Cooper and Malcolm Stewart We thought it was a battle for fourth. Now they're in reach of third, and I've got to think there's now money on the line. I don't know about top four, but top three. And boy, did they race like it was on the line in Denver.
Yeah, they were going for it. There was a podium at the particular race on the line. There's this battle for third in the points on the line. And yes, somewhere there is a monetary value applied to this. Like, they're definitely racing for some bonus money, but you just think about what this means outside of that. Forget about the money. Getting third in the championship is a big deal. It is a big deal. Saying I got third carries a lot more weight than getting fourth. And you could say it's because of the podium dynamic. We put so much emphasis on the top three, but it does matter. And when you think about these riders in contract years, whether it's with the OEM or gear companies or whoever, that stuff carries weight. So they're definitely going to be thinking about it going into Salt Lake. And if there's a little bit more aggression, or they're just look like they're trying harder than the other people around them, that's going to be why.
And I think there's a rider, also it's close in points for seventh right now. I think there's a rider in that group who actually would feel the same way. Dylan Ferrandis is close. Justin Hill is close. Barsha is idle because he's out with a knee injury. Shane McElrath has a shot at seventh in the series. I don't know if there's money on the line for that, but I got to think if you're McElrath, same thing. You tell him in Anaheim 1, he's going to get seventh in the 450 class. He's going to be stoked, so he's going to go for it.
He should. If you think about the trajectory of Shane McElrath's career, he was a great 250 racer. He just was so close to winning a 250 championship. He ends up losing to Chase Sexton in that 2020 SLC 7. But it really hasn't come to fruition in the way that other riders around him. Look at Chase Sexton's 450 career versus Shane McElrath's. But getting seventh, it matters because I think it's proving that, hey, I belong. I was a solid top 10 guy. I got a podium this year, and I am amongst some very talented racers that maybe one day I thought it would be a no-brainer, but here I am. So I just think it's affirmation if he could get seventh in this championship of the type of season that Shane McElrath has had, which has been, honestly, it's been very admirable.
Yeah, and Ferrandis on the Phoenix Racing Honda has been better as of late. He'd like to end the series on a high note. Now, Justin Hill, he's trended the other way, but it's Justin Hill. Watch him get a podium on Saturday. That'd be so Justin Hill. He did it actually at this race a couple of years ago. You just never know with him. They're all fighting for that same spot in points. But what they're not fighting for, JT, this one is already done. It's already clinched. I have never questioned any of the calls that the AMA has ever made on anything, including this, because I was handed the trophy. I apparently won the Media Award of Excellence from 2024. So there you go. I got to clink trophies even with Chase Sexton. Winners find ways, JT.
Now, this was awesome. I might be your biggest fan when it comes to this stuff. I watch all of your videos you do. And listen, there are some of our friends, some people around us that thought you were undeserving.
It's great.
I claim it's pure jealousy.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And I would just tell them, hey, do a better job. Maybe this could be you if you could perform to the level that Jason Weigandt has for a long time. It's just finally being recognized right now. So congratulations, Weege. I think you are very deserving of this award, and it's probably long overdue.
Well, somewhat. I'm trying to find it on my desk. I actually have, hold on here. I'm going to get out of the screen. In this case right here, I actually have the 2003 award. I actually won the award in 2003. So I don't know if it's good to say you've won twice or bad to say it took 21 years to win it again. But as for our friends, yes, I know there are some in the media that really did want to win this. And when I found that out, I made sure to rub it in their face all weekend by putting the trophy in the press box so they could see it and just strive for something in 2025. SMX Facts time. Let's bring in the statistician, Clinton Fowler. But I'm not going to ask the first question because, JT, you have a burning question for Clinton.
Well, just thinking about how good Chase Sexton has been this season, but let's face it, the odds are against him winning this championship. If he goes out and wins the Salt Lake finale, that's going to be 7 wins this season. Clinton, how rare is it for someone to win 7 races in a season and still not be the Monster Energy Supercross champion?
Well, JT, it's rare to have somebody go out and win 7 times and not win the title. If you look at history, there's only 6 times where that's happened by 5 riders. You got Damon Bradshaw in 1992, Eli Tomac in 2017. Bradshaw had 9 wins. Tomac had 8 wins in that year. And then you look at 7 wins, and that's happened 4 times. You got Rick Johnson in '87. You got Ryan Villapoto in 2010. Those 2 guys had injuries in their seasons. Jason Anderson in 2022, and then Eli Tomac again in 2023, JT.
Man, that's tough for Tomac being a 2-timer on that list. That's rough news.
Sexton can only join the 7-time winners group if he wins this weekend, JT. Is that in doubt for you at all?
It's really not, and you hate to assume anything, but I think he's going to go on and win this race pretty easily, just like he did in 2023 and in 2024. You look at the field, you look at the situation. Cooper Webb's certainly not going to press the envelope and take a lot of risk. And let's go back and think about, in that same vein, how pivotal Pittsburgh was for Webb to get that win after what we saw in Denver and what I think we're going to see in Salt Lake.
Okay, Clinton, now, this is where we're going to earn your money as the numbers guy. 3 riders, very close in 250 East. Give us an idea of some of the scenarios that could break out.
It's winner take all at the end of the day. You go out and you win the race. One of these 3 riders, Tom Vialle, Seth Hammaker, RJ Hampshire, they win it, they win the title. It's as simple as that. But when you really break it down, it gets a lot more complex. Vialle and Hammaker, they're in the position that you really want to be in. Vialle, he's just got to beat those guys and he gets the title. Hammaker, same thing. He's just got to beat those guys and he's in the driver's seat and wins it because he's got a tiebreaker over Vialle based off of wins. The complexity comes with a guy like RJ Hampshire who's down 3 points. And again, he could just win it and he's all good to go. But the problem comes is if he goes and he beats Vialle, there's a 3-point gap there. He's got to get first and Vialle's got to be second for him to guarantee the victory. Anything else and he's going to need help. If Hampshire ends up second and Hammaker third, that's only 2 points. They end up in a tie for points for the championship and Hammaker gets the title because he's got more wins. And so it's a bit complex, Weege, but that makes for some exciting racing for us in Salt Lake City.
JT, that really opened the door of when we say really win and you win the title. I mean, that's the simplest way to do it.
Yeah, and I think for RJ Hampshire, that's all you really think about. You know, of course, you're going to have to be situational once the gate drops, but leading up to the week, you just think about where you were last year in this same exact situation. It's not as simple as just I need to beat Levi Kitchen, but his mindset was the same. Just go out and execute and try to beat everybody on the racetrack. And I think if push came to shove in 2024, he could have passed Haiden Deegan and won that race. So he's going to go in with the same approach, same mindset. If I want to be 2-time champ, I go out and win the race and nobody can do anything about it.
What makes it dangerous, though, this race at elevation, we saw what the Yamahas did off the start in Denver. This isn't quite as high up in elevation, but Cole Davies and or Degan or Moseman or, hey, Nate Thrasher, somebody like that has zero repercussions. The title just goes out and runs away. That really narrows the pathway for Hampshire. Man, good luck keeping track of all this on Saturday, Clinton. It's going to be absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it's going to be great for the fans to watch and see for sure.
Let's wrap this up. By the way, it's not a wrap up for SMX Insider. This is just the Monster Energy Supercross finale from Salt Lake. We've got Pro Motocross and SMX playoffs and World Championship coming up. But Salt Lake specifically, you see there on the screen, race day live coverage at 1 o'clock Eastern. And then a pre-race show, which I'll be hosting along with Justin Brayton and Adam Cianciarulo at 6:30. Racing at 7 East. Post-race show as well. And the 3-hour race show will also air live on USA Network, or you can watch on Peacock or the SMX Video Pass. JT, on this episode, I've said several times, if you tell Shane McElrath, Justin Cooper, Ryder XYZ, this is where you'll be headed into Salt Lake City, they'd be pumped. Well, how about the fans in general? This is what everybody hopes for every year, that the title is still at least fairly close and somewhat up for grabs in the 450 class. And chaos in the 250s helps also. It has not been a walk-away season. Winner take all 450, not quite, but still very intriguing going into the finale. That's really what everybody wants.
Well, Weege, you said if you told them something, well, if you told me that Jet Lawrence, Hunter Lawrence, Eli Tomac, Ken Roxon, Justin Barcia, Jason Anderson, on and on and on, would not make the end of the series, like they would exit early, I would be like, oh boy, what does that look like? And it's been fantastic. So on some level, we got very fortunate to be this entertained and have this close of a championship with all of those riders exiting that could have added so much more. So I feel like we came out pretty good on this whole deal.
Yep. And just look at that very last lap with both Coopers, Webb and Justin Cooper and Malcolm battling into the last corner with every point hanging in the balance and the aggressive riding by Sexton. And we know the 250s never fail to deliver. That should give you an idea what we're in store for. So join us either at the race or watch. It's going to be a good one in Salt Lake.